I second.
Now it is.
So we have a nomination and a second to approve the consent agenda. Do I have anybody opposed to approving the consent agenda?
A second, you mean?
Okay, so with no opposition, then that's unanimous. The consent agenda is approved. Next on the agenda is our roving reporter, Sharon Summerall, on what's going on in government relations. And she's doing it while driving with one hand behind her back and her favorite guy, Patrick, not in attendance. So I think a little verbal update from Sharon. So Sharon, please share what's happening in the world of government relations.
So we heard back from
Uh-oh.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, I'm fading in and out. Am I back?
You're back.
You're back.
Okay, I should pull over, but I can't. Padilla did not approve, our staff did not approve our idea for parking spaces for a buffer of which would give us about 80 feet leeway between the development and any residential units. They did not approve that. They said it was too constrictive, and they approved the rest, but they did not address our building impact inquiries. They chose not to respond to that, even though verbally he told us that staff would not agree to it. He did not include it in his response back to us. So I sent him an email asking for a formal response back from staff on building impact trees. And once we get the formal response back to him, then I'll probably shoot an email to everybody and find out if they want to offer a rebuttal to the suggestion of parking and a 70-foot space between developments and residential neighborhoods. And I definitely want to rebut the building impact. So I've got to get the formal response from him before, with all the detail, before we respond back at government relations. And I'll run it by the committee when we're all together and see what they say when Patrick shows up. And I think, Rick, are you on our government relations committee?
I am.
Okay, and then we can discuss if we want to rebut Fidelis urban staff's responses to us. And
Hold on a second, Sharon. Let me just help, since you're busy trying not to get killed. What she's talking about is the urban place definition, which we have been collaborating with planning and urban design, and we've given them documents and all those sorts of things. And finally, just a day or so ago, they replied with, as she said, agreeing to many of the things we asked, but not agreeing on the couple of things she's talked about. And if I remember correctly, that's going to planning and zoning on July 7th. Is that correct, Sharon?
That's right.
Right.
I'm not Sharon, but that's right.
Yeah, you're freezing again, Sharon. So I think with the government relations committee, that's okay. That's okay. So we've got 2 weeks-ish, if I'm looking at the date right, for any action or any call to action or whatever the government relations committee wants to do, if we can't convince them to solve the problems that they're not willing to solve. While Sharon's driving, any comment from the other government relations people on where you think we are and how much fight we need to put in?
I'd like to hear a little more explanation of why he did not include at least some sort of why they turned it down, why they left it out, just why. He is known for that, so I shouldn't be surprised, but My question.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe we'll try to squeeze one more meeting in. I'm not going to commit for Sharon and Patrick, but we've got 2 weeks. So if we can't get him to put it in print, we can set up a Zoom and record him so that we have it for future posterity. I mean,
I think they are going to postpone the P and Z. They've got to rewrite this. I don't know if they're going to get it done in time. They may, but I will ask him when he responds to the building impact inquiry.
okay. Okay, you can go ahead, Sharon, with what you got next.
That's it. Patrick was doing something and I forget what it was. So I wish I knew what Patrick had been doing, but I've been too busy to pay attention to it. Maybe somebody else has been following it, like Alan. Alan, have you been following what, or you, Rick?
Alan, I saw Alan's hand up.
I have a kind of a subcommittee report on Charlotte Street. I just wanted to add when Sharon's done.
I think she's done.
Okay.
I'm done.
Thanks. I've been meeting, well, I had one face-to-face contact meeting with Richard Corber, who is a resident of the Charlotte Street Neighbors Association. And I've sent him several documents to help their efforts to organize. They are basically an unorganized neighborhood association. They have a spokesperson who's kind of a self-anointed spokesperson who's been kind of a pawn of the Killian RCG group. And but he is not an officer. In fact, they don't have officers right now. So I have been communicating with Richard Corber, and I sent him, first of all, the bylaws of the Grove Park Neighborhood Association, which he requested to use as possible template for their neighborhood association. I've also arranged with the JCC for them to hold an open meeting in an outdoor space. And they're going to be following through with that. In addition, I basically borrowed the document that Patrick has on 6 steps on organizing a neighborhood association. And I forwarded that to him also. Richard is going to be, he's in the process of contacting other neighbors to have a formal meeting in the near future, because the clock is running right now. The issue of Charlotte Street is going to be before City Council on July the 27th. And they need to be organized before that, have officers elected, and then have an appearance before council so they could make known what their position is on the Charlotte Street development. But they seem to be moving ahead now as quickly as possible. He is going to be contacting neighbors by email, and also, I believe, pamphleting or leafleting neighbors on a near meeting of the neighbors so they could begin to organize and have officers put together an agenda and begin moving forward as an active neighborhood association. I've offered CAN's services to him and made it known that CAN would certainly welcome them at the table when they get organized. So I've gone as far as I can as a member of CAN and a nearby neighbor of the adjacent neighborhood association to assist their efforts. This morning in the ACT, there was a pretty lengthy article about the Fuddruckers development. Unfortunate that and I'll be quick about this. It's unfortunate that City Council is not looking at the Fuddruckers development along with Charlotte Street in a holistic way to look at the impact of not only the infrastructure such as water and but also traffic. And there was a traffic report mentioned in the paper this morning, which was not favorable at all towards the development of Fuddruckers and I assume Charlotte Street. And they basically said it would be, the effect would be dismal on the traffic going along both Charlotte Street and Chestnut.
Yeah, just-
So that's all I have to report now, but I'm glad to hear that we may have a new organized neighborhood in the not too distant future.
Okay,
Anyway,
thank you. Probably questions for the folks working on the Charlotte Street thing. What's next for CAN to do?
we're following the Preservation Society's lead on this. So as a neighborhood association, I can't speak for CAN per se in the Government Relations Committee, but as the neighborhood, as well as Elmar and Chestnut Hills, which is Amy Kemp's neighborhood association, we are all supporting the Preservation Society's efforts in opposing the current design. We're not opposed to the development, but it has to be an appropriate design fitting for that area, recognizing or giving a nod at least to the historic nature of the buildings and houses in that area, and doing everything we can to preserve what is there on on Charlotte Street. The Killian family has come up with a new design for the side streets. And they've come out with that, I think, past day or so. That includes Furman, Ackerman, and Baird. But they have not changed their design for Charlotte Street, which is really the most important area that we're certainly concerned about, because of the height of the buildings, the design that does not fit into that area. As a matter of fact, I think it was at the last meeting, I commented on the plan on the page for both the Charlotte Street neighbors as well as the Grove Park. And both neighborhood associations recognize the importance of preserving the historic nature of those houses as the gateway to this area. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. Right now, it appears that City Council is likely to approve the proposal. I did get contacted, by the way, from a colleague of mine who sits on the Civil Service Board with me. He's an attorney, and he suggested that the neighborhood associations, plural, work in tandem to hire their own attorneys separate from the Preservation Society to lobby City Council directly. Well, we don't have the funds to do that, nor would our neighborhood association likely approve any kind of funding of an outside attorney to do that. Our money is already earmarked for our city parks. So, and I don't think the other neighborhood associations have the funds either. So that's where we're at right now. We're just following the lead of the Preservation Society, and hopefully having the Charlotte Street Neighborhood Association be organized and have some presence at the City Council meeting when there's a vote on this issue. Okay, I hope that answers the question. Other than, I'm not sure what else the government relations, Sharon's on board right now. I see her on screen. I'm not sure what else the Government Relations Committee can do going forward. We're doing everything we can at this point in time.
Well, I mean, we we have our email lists, we have our website, we have our members who could, I mean, I'm not trying to talk you guys into anything. You know, we've followed the lead of the Preservation Society, but we've supported them on some things like Wrap Charlotte Street. We
Right.
posted stuff. I don't want to miss an opportunity if for some reason the GR committee thinks it's too much work on people to do more. I'd rather have you all ask for support, attendance at the city council meeting, whatever, and then not have anybody volunteer, then hesitate to ask. So that's why I'm asking. You know, we've been in it, but we're not sending warnings out to people. We're not telling them to come to the city council meeting. We're not giving them talking points or, you know, aiming them at the talking points that the Preservation Society has. So I just like the GR committee to make a decision that we're not going to be active or we're going to be active. And, you know, at this point, I'd open it to.
I do plan to personally attend that city council meeting on the
So do I.
7th. I'm sorry, Barbara.
I'll be there too.
Okay.
The biggest mistake Ken will ever make is not sending people to these sorts of meetings where we back up the neighborhoods. If we start doing that, we're gonna go downhill in a great big hurry.
Well, then someone's got to do it. It's just not enough time for the people that are doing the work are all doing the work. I mean, if someone's got the wherewithal to do it, I only offered to offer technical help. That's all I was able to do, and that's what I've done. And I've done what I can. I will go to a council meeting for it as well. But as far as being able to send any other info out, I have not the time to do it. Somebody else has the time on the board, then knock yourself out.
So nobody in the
Maybe
committee has the time? Is that what you're saying, Sharon? I just want to be
Well,
clear.
so far, no one has. No.
I can say something at Hall Creek's meeting Monday night. We're having a general membership meeting. Now, whether it will go in one ear and out the other, or if people really pay attention is a whole nother ballgame, but I can certainly say something at that meeting.
Alan?
Two things. Probably one of the most important things that our neighborhoods, plural, and members of neighborhoods can do right now is continue to sign the petition of the Preservation Society. There's over, last count, 4,300 names on there. And that would be helpful to bring that kind of a list before City Council to show the broad opposition to this issue. One more point, and then I'll be quiet. The biggest concern I have, not just the fact that this disrupts everything that the neighborhoods along Charlotte Street from 240 all the way up to our neighborhood on preservation, is that the city continues to use CZs to bypass their own ordinances. And they do this without ever, with no reservations of doing this. And they do this with every neighborhood. So if people aren't concerned about what's going on in Charlotte Street, this could very well happen in their own backyards too. So I have to emphasize that point. Why do we even have zoning ordinances in the city if they're being bypassed continually by the city council? No.
Kathy? You're off mute first.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is there a link to the petition that may have been offered earlier or maybe on the website, but I just want to check.
I could send that out.
Okay. And you mentioned, Alan, some kind of concern about the effect on infrastructure in the paper. Was that as a letter or an article?
The issue of cars and transportation was in the paper this morning. The issue related to infrastructure was only brought to my attention a couple months ago by Sharon when she mentioned the water feed along Chestnut. Sharon, you might want to comment on this, feeding into Charlotte Street. And now we have two large developments. The one on at Fuddruckers is going to have about 190 units there, plus commercial development. And then I'm not sure how many units. Do you recall, Sharon, how many units are going on Charlotte Street? I believe far more than that. So to deal with both developments and the water was probably what, a 4-inch line going up.
Well, do you want to talk about the technical review information I've gotten regarding that? As what was mentioned at TRC is about when Charlotte Street people came in, what lines they could not use, water lines, because they were old and small and not maintained. And that the only line that was available is the one that runs up Chestnut. And so basically what the city, from my understanding from sitting on TRC, will tell the developer is that they'll have to put pumps in, they'll have to make accommodation, they'll have to do something to allow for that extra added water usage on the line, which has nothing to do with all the future development that's coming in there. So they treat everything as one individual process as opposed to looking collectively at the whole area. There's only one line that's decent according to MSD, and that's the one that runs along Chestnut that goes to Merriman. The rest are overburdened, old, and not going to provide the amount of water that these developments are going to need. And so Charlotte Street, I think, is having to make accommodations by I'm not sure. I think it pumps is what they're talking about in order to get them the amount of pressure they need in order to develop this. That's
So-
just, I have it in my notes. I can be more specific in my notes if I pull them up.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's really good handful of talking points that everybody's head is going up and down are bad things. We need somebody who knows what they are to just jot them down. And then we can try to get them published and get them out and do a call to action like we've done for the noise ordinance and we did for the Shiloh Library and all that kind of stuff. You guys are the closest to it. It seems like we need 20 minutes of focus from some member of the Government Relations Committee. And maybe when Patrick's back, he's got it all in his head.
Well, Patrick doesn't know it. The city knows this. The people that develop know this. Everybody that goes to a TRC meeting knows this. I've been talking about it since I first heard about it 3 months ago. The problem is that we can call, in my opinion, we can call it action all we want. City's not going to change their methodology of how they do things. We can jump up and down and say this is crazy, which it is. But where does it go from there? For me, it takes a lot of organization to deliver the news when they already have the news and they choose to ignore the news, you know, and so until they push it downhill to the next development.
Barbara?
Is that only now you're talking strictly the Killian thing. Where is Fuddruckers going to get their water? Same place?
I know the developer that's being involved in that, and I warned them. I said, when you go into this, you go check your water supply before you buy into this, because you're going to have issues. You're not going to have enough water to provide for your units. And I said, take a look. I said, it was brought up during the Charlotte Street development. I said, you'd be good to look into it. And he thanked me. But I mean, are they able to make it work? I don't know how the city can do this and make this development happen.
Well, they also talked in today's article about restriping Charlotte Street and how long if we just had it restriped.
Yes, that was also part of the discussion, that if Charlotte Street does any work at all, it was just resurfaced, they will have to resurface the whole thing over again, and they will have to restripe it. And the developers shook their head, yes, we know.
Well, I think the public needs to know this. So if you know, I letter to the editor maybe that, hey, guys, they ain't got no water out there. And did you know they're gonna have to redo Charlotte Street again with your tax dollars, which they just went up on? That ought to get somebody's attention.
This was all mentioned with Preservation Society. It was mentioned at neighborhood meetings. It's been mentioned previously. The problem is, Barbara, once again, is so few people jumping in and taking over to do the work of what's being done now. So yes, I totally agree, but there's just not enough people to do this right now in government relations.
I don't mind writing a letter if that's two of the subjects. It won't take me long to put that together.
So let me try to summarize what I think I heard, because I'm a little confused. Barbara's willing to write a letter. I'm willing to edit it, you know, to make sure that it's okay, and to post it and send it to our email lists and to leaders of all the other places. What I don't understand, because Sharon, this is your team, whether you think that that's a waste of time to ask them to come to the meeting and speak against it. I'm just confused there.
Well, first of all, I have to give you the statistics on it. I have to have the time to sit down and give you all my notes for what the information is that I have for who said what during the meeting, so that we're not talking out of the side of our mouth, that we're talking about what my notes actually say, so that there's a rebuttal, it will come back directly to me that my notes are incorrect, because the developers are extremely astute about responding to anything that is incorrect. So I have to sit down and I have to make sure that I don't look ignorant in what I'm doing. And my notes are pretty good, but I have to have the time to do that. I may have the time, I may find my notes right now. I'm looking for my Charlotte Street file. It may be very easy to do. And then it's about taking that information and handing it to whomever, to Barbara, to Rick, and you guys do with that information what you would like to do with it. Because I don't have the time to do it.
So I understand you don't have the time, Sharon. I'm just looking for your opinion on whether your view is if it can be done, is there value? Can do it, if it can be done. Yes or no? Because it sort of sounds like you think it's a lost cause, and
it is a lost cause, because the city will say out loud that they're having to deal with this problem, and they leave it up to the developers to deal with it. Because if the developers want to develop, then the developers are like their Ashland Cox, they're putting in a new water line there because they didn't have enough service to feed that. So the city's getting all this free infrastructure from the developers that are going in there, because they're going, well, you know, good luck trying to get what you need. And the developers will go, well, you know, we'll put that service in and make it work. And that's what's happened at Ashland Cox. And that I just heard about my last TRC meeting. So is it good news and information? Yes. Is it, they're just putting the whole burden on the developers. You make it work. We've got the lousy infrastructure. You guys want this, you make it work.
But excuse me, but the city is not willing to red light, stoplight these developments. They'd just rather see the developer fix it.
Yes.
Well, I think that's the story that has to get out. The public needs to know that the city is doing that. And it's not in the best interest of the residents in those neighborhoods. My gosh, tearing up Charlotte Street again? That's terrible.
Yeah, but the developer's going to pay for it. So all the city goes as well. The city told them, they said, you know, you're going to have to redo that. And the developer shakes their head, goes, I know.
Well, that's only one measure of the success. The problem is disruption to the neighborhood.
And I totally get it. I'm just saying where the city, I totally get it. I'm just saying what happens on that back end of it. As long as the city doesn't have to pay for it, they're happy campers.
City's
You
not
know?
concerned about neighborhoods right now.
No, they're not
They're
concerned ever.
they're looking at tax dollars. That's
Right.
all.
I guess the issue then becomes, even if it is a lost cause, does that mean we do not join the fight? I'm not a believer in that. I think that, I mean, we thought noise ordinance was a lost cause 4 or 5 years ago, and I think we're going to get somewhere with the noise ordinance. Maybe not where we wanted to go, but
Come join us.
we were told over and over again it was a lost cause. The city was going to do exactly what it wanted to do and nothing else. And they were going to listen to mission, and that was it. So
Come join us.
I'm, you know,
Come
if we
join
need a motion to pursue this, I'll make it.
Will you join us and then government relations and
Sure.
be
Sure.
involved in it? Because that's what the problem is. We've got so few people doing so much. And I unfortunately am the one that's getting all the technical information by my sitting at TRC. So that's why I end up having the information. I just can't go anywhere else with it. And no one's prodding me to say, Sharon, give us this information. This is a good idea. I have mentioned it previously, but no one's taken the ball and run with it. And I frankly go, if you're not going to run with it, then I'm not going to chase it down.
I think you're hearing from Rick that we want to run with it.
This is not the way you run a city.
Right.
Amen.
So to put a cap on this,
Yes.
I have to agree with the comment that Barbara made from the beginning. If CAN doesn't take some form of stand, even if it's just referring to the Preservation Society stuff, I mean, if we stop doing that, well then Kathy wouldn't be on this team because we did that for Melvin Hills, and Susan wouldn't be on this team because we've been helping her with that kind of stuff. So I see that Barbara volunteered and Steve volunteered to at least pick the brains of the existing government relations people and try to come up with a brief description of the reason this thing is bad, a call to action to come and make your voice known at the city council meeting on the 27th, if it actually happens that day, because now they're trying to squeeze the noise ordinance in there too. And I can guarantee you there's going to be 50 or 100 people on both sides of that one. Mm-hmm. So let's do that. And I'm going to leave it up to Barbara and Steve to get time with the government relations committee to put that together, and then we'll handle the distribution of the information and the posting to the CAN website and all that stuff via email. Far enough.
Okay, I'm going to say that's me, and I have no time. So if I got some time, I will go through my notes, because you're going to have the information from me in order to write a letter.
Understood.
So I will do the best I can with very limited.
Okay, so I'll restate it. I'll restate it. Steve and Barbara, and with a little help from Alan, will at minimum have the links to the Preservation Society stuff so that we can just follow up with what we already said we would do. That would put no work on Sharon's head. Okay. And if somehow Sharon comes up with time to add more technical content that can make it richer, well, then we'll go out again, right? This is one of those things where you got to go out as frequently as you can. So,
well, the thing though, Rick, with the Charlotte Street thing, it's in the paper today about the restriping. And so the only thing we need to talk about, I mean, not the only thing, but the other thing with the water, it's a known fact that they're going to have to use pumps, and the city hasn't got enough water. Now, I don't see how they can dispute that. Granted, I understand why Sharon wants to get us the correct information, but the fact that they have to use one particular water line, because the rest of them's up to their eyeballs and alligators, shouldn't be a problem.
no, I understand. Susan, you've been trying to get in.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm not the most technical person, but I'm a good writer, and I'm a better editor. And so I'm happy to review anything that you put together and put my 2 cents in. I might have a different spin on it. I might have some new ideas. I was involved, you know, early on when Fuddruckers was when it first became a thing. So, you know, I can catch up a little bit, and you know, feel free to use me for that.
Thank you. I'm very wordy, so I always get somebody to look at it. They'll tell you I can run my mouth for hours on end.
So I completely respect how people run out of time, Sharon. So I'm really not trying to put any pressure on you at all. Okay. Because I completely respect that. I know how it goes. So I'm just suggesting that Barbara volunteered first, Steve jumped in second. Alan's got some information as well. If you 3 could get something drafted and send it for Susan for writing, you know, quoting the Citizens Times thing, you know, that way it's not data we're making up. It's just, we're just trying to educate our membership and bringing attention to this, because people lose track. And then we'll, you know, do like we're doing with other stuff. This is the date and time it's supposed to happen. You need to be there. And like Alan said, if you don't think this is a problem in your neighborhood today, you're going to be in for a big surprise somewhere down the road. And the beauty of CAN is we all get behind each other, even if it's not a problem in our particular neighborhood, because we want help the next time that comes along.
That's right.
So let's try to make that happen this week, and that should give us enough time to get the stuff out. Alan?
Rick, I'll send you the information that I sent out on Facebook, Asheville Politics, and Nextdoor, that has a petition link
Okay.
for the Preservation Society, as well as some other information about how to contact City Council and so forth. So I will forward that to you the next day.
Okay.
Okay.
And I did find some information on my notes, so I can send somebody what I've got on the 16-inch line. The 6-inch line on Charlotte is an old line. On Furman, it's a 4-inch old line. Stay away because it's upgrade. And on Baird, it's a 6-inch and probably not all the way. It's a 4-inch and it's smaller and older. So the only available line is the 16-inch line on Chestnut. So I've got that. I found
Great.
that in my notes.
Great. You know, if you don't have Steve and Susan's email address, send it to me. I'll make sure it gets forwarded to everybody who
Okay.
sort of volunteered.
Okay.
Can I get a momentary clarification? So my understanding is that we are supposed to not alienate the city, right? That's part of our mission, is to advocate without alienating. And so since we're starting with this idea that, you know, that the issue is the way the city is doing things, are we really just trying to educate the public so that they participate in these meetings? Is that the goal of this? And to educate them about what's happening without pointing fingers to the dysfunction of the city?
Yeah, that's probably the safe way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, point out all the flaws that everybody knows what's wrong with this thing, why it's a bad idea, without calling out Gwen Whistler for, you know, her participation in this, and, you know, the ethics stuff that's all bouncing around and all that sort of thing. That, you know, it can have edge, right? You know, we call you to action because we disagree that this is good for the city of Asheville, and we disagree that it should go as done, you know, and I'll help at the end with the edge part, because it'll probably end up flying out under the president title anyway.
I've been a thorn in their side for 36 years, and I am not one that doesn't want to stir them up, because most of the time, the only time that we've actually gotten better response is when you get the public mad enough, like the lady that spoke about the noise ordinance that raised immortal heck the other night, is when you, and then they turned around and told Ben to get on with it. There's a very slim margin of being nasty and being positive and saying, look, I'm watching you and you ain't doing your job.
Right. Okay. So much for the short agenda list, guys. But it's okay, you know.
Mr. President, I'll save you some time right now. And
okay, go ahead,
the thing
Steve.
I was going to talk about doesn't even happen till October. We can put it on the next board meeting, so you can move on to new business. And
Okay.
by the way, I am not Nora Garver. That is my wife. It's her computer. So.
Okay. Do we have any new business?
Rick, Tom. Yeah, I don't know if this is new business. It's really just an FYI. And I don't know that CAN needs to do anything right at the moment or even down the road. Finally, and this is not about noise. Thank God. Finally, the business owners downtown, which also includes West Asheville, Haywood Street owners. And I don't know if there are any business owners on this board, and they could comment on it as well. But finally, it appears that they are up in arms about the state of downtown Asheville from the perspective that there are no police. There has not been, I have not seen a policeman since they closed the substation, which was months ago. The prevalence of more travelers camping on the streets, the trash downtown, Pritchard Park has become a huge point of contention. There was a meeting on Monday night, the 21st. The mayor was there, Kathy Ball, and at least two of the council people, Turner, and I'm not sure who the other one was. And at least 60 business owners demanded either they fix Pritchard Park or they close it. They demanded that no porta potties be at the park. They demanded that the council support the APD. And there's another, and this was brought about, the owners of Discount Pharmacy right on Patton Avenue started this, and there's going to be at least another meeting with the city, and they also demanded immediate action. They're tired of the same old. Now, the mayor's reaction was that all of this is due to the pandemic, and which shows you how little she's based in reality, or how little she takes a walk downtown, because this has been going on well before the pandemic. It's just gotten worse and worse. So it's a good thing.
Okay, thanks.
Can I say one quick thing in relation to that, Tom? You may want to know that Asheville made the front page of the New York Times today.
Yes.
For their police problem.
Yep.
Oh, I saw that from Reb. Yes.
Yep.
Pretty sad.
Yep.
Any other new business? I'd like to give you all a bathroom break or whatever before the 6 o'clock meeting starts. If nobody's got anything else, I got one announcement to make when everybody else has run out of stuff. I don't see any hands going up. So Sophie Molnax has resigned as Vice President of Marketing, having 2 small children and a full-time job. Not really surprising that she just can't do the work that she knows should be done. You know, we let her be on sort of maternity leave and let her off the hook, but ultimately she feels bad that it would be her job to do things and she can't do them. So now we're down a true secretary and we're down a vice president of marketing. So we're going to be somewhat constrained on what we can do until we find somebody who will help us with those tasks. And I'm thinking of just going out to next door across the entire world, because so far going through our channels is not really, we're not finding any candidates, right? So I have a potential lead on a marketing person who had showed some interest in the secretary job, so Helen could free up so we could do membership things, so she could be helping Alan, you know, bring that new neighborhood to life, which would be really great. But after talking about the job, that person said that they didn't think they were suited for that, that they'd be better suited for a marketing job. So I'm gonna continue the conversation there. It's the only lead I've got at this point in time, but we certainly have less volunteer labor hours than we have opportunity to spend working on stuff. So if you know anybody who's trying to make an impact in this town through advocating for neighborhoods, it'd be great to send their name my way, and I'll run them back through the nominating committee if we find anybody that actually is ready to go. Okay, can I have a motion to stop the board meeting and give you all a 9-minute break?
Rick,
Steve?
I make a motion.
Rick,
Barbara,
I did
you
have one
second it?
question.
I second it.
I did have one question. You thought you'd bring up in new business, real meetings rather than Zoom meetings.
Oh, right. Could I get a hand raised for everybody who would prefer to have board meetings face to face if we could find a place?
I'm raising my hand, Rick.
Okay. So it's kind of evenly split, you know, so maybe we try
More Zoom.
a hybrid. Barbara, do you have any luck finding a place for us in the new East Asheville Library?
I will go up there and talk to them again. They're not open in the, at night. That was the bugaboo, but I will go back up there first of next week and see if they have hired any more people so that they are, if they're going to plan. Otherwise, it's going to have to be in the afternoons, and that's not good for a lot of us. Or I mean, it might work out depending on how late they stay there.
Okay.
But that was their excuse when I talked to them when it opened.
Okay, so let us know. Actually, the next board meeting would be scheduled for 1 p.m. because we were only going to make these at 5 on the nights that we had general membership meetings. But if you have other opinions on that, just let me know. I can do an email vote.
Well, and would you believe, as far as I know, Oakley Community Center keeps calling me. He didn't call me last month, but the month before he rang me up and wanted to know if we were ever going to use Oakley, because I think they're still holding it for us on Monday nights. I'll have to check with him, but
Okay.
I'll try the library because it sure is a lot nicer.
Okay. All right. For the record, I had a motion to stop the meeting. They're going to a second.
Second.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Okay. Take a few minutes. I'm going to stop the recording and we'll launch into the general membership meeting in about 6 or 7 minutes. So thank you all for.
We just stay connected, Rick?
Just stay connected.
Okay.
Yep. We're not changing numbers or anything too complicated to do that.
All right.